Let's take a look at the countplot function in Seaborn. And we'll do it after first using some standard import statements and bringing a data set into our environment. That data set is Lobster 20. Well, we're calling it Lobster 20, but it's Lobster Land 2022 CSV. It's data from park operations in the 2020 season. So we can see the first 5 rows of data here, and what we'll focus on in this tutorial is the event column. So we've got event almost all the way over to the right, and what we'll do is we'll see sns.countplot in all its glory. We'll first just pass in that single variable event, and countplot is a specific way to make a bar plot in Seaborn. It's a type of bar plot that just depicts counts, as the name suggests. And keep in mind, when you view bar plots, the typical bar plot is going to have a categorical variable on one of its axes. And on the other axis, you're either going to have a count. It's a tally of how frequently each of those categories occurred or appeared in some data set, or alternatively, it can be a summary statistic. But when we use the countplot function, we're just using it to make the first type that shows counts on one of the axes. So without further ado, here is that. And that's really all the syntax required. We just pass in the variable name here along with the data frame where Seaborn goes to look for the data, and that's it. And we get this plot here, which shows us that event type 0 was much more common than either events type 1 or 2. But there still might be some more things we want to do here. We may want to modify this further. It might be perfectly fine for us if we're just doing this for exploratory purposes. But one shortcoming of this plot is it would be very, very tough for any audience to interpret if the audience wasn't already familiar with the data or didn't have access to the dataset description, which you can find on the book website. So what we're going to do is we're going to map these numbers using the values that we know from the dataset description. We're going to map 0, 1, and 2 to their names so that we can generate a plot that looks a bit better for an external audience, or at least more understandable. So we do that here we create this dictionary we're going to call event mapping. And then we're going to assign those values back to a column called event name. So actually, event name is a new column that we are going to create in this new data frame. In fact, let's take a look at that. So I'm going to just pop in a new code cell here, lobster 20 dot head. We'll see the whole thing. So you'll be able to see the original plus this one. And I'm going to scroll over and show you that we have indeed got event here in its original form, and then event name, where everything corresponds to its to one of those 3 distinct numbers that events took. So now let's make a new plot, and we can see something that's much more descriptive. Something we may not love is the label for that kids under 10 a free event. It's sort of a long, it's just kind of a long name there. So what we'll do is we'll see about alternative ways we can present this data. So one alternative to that is we can just change the orientation of the plot. And that's a really simple fix. We just switch the axis from X to Y. And this is often a really effective way to go when you've got long label names and you just want to improve readability, just shift the bars to orient horizontally. Alternatively, we can rotate the labels, and this is a way to do it. And you could play with the different options here for rotation. Another thing you could explore is, could there be a more succinct way to say kids under 10, free before 10? Now, there probably is, but I'll let you play with that. Think about how you could just change one little step earlier on to do that, and to see what that would give you. And what we'll do here is we'll just make one last version of the plot where you'll see one solid color. Most bar plots you see in publications, you'll see a solid color. You'll see a color option that will just be used throughout the plot. So that's what we're seeing here. Indian red seems like a pretty good lobster kind of choice there. So there's also a title. And the title improves readability as well. Without a title, it would also be a little bit of a mystery. I mean, someone could probably infer what it was in the context of how you were showing it, but the title certainly improves in terms of how to express what the plot shows and what it means. And then if you're wondering, okay, that color is nice, but where could you see more colors and where could you find out more about what colors are available automatically without having to explore and create your own hexadecimal combinations? For named colors, there's a link right there, and you can probably the best way to go is just search that, matplotlib named colors, but the link is there. If you wanted to follow that link and pop it into your browser tab, you could see it that way too. So thank you very much for watching, and this is setting up a count plot in Seaborn.